What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Sin Blackblade and welcome back to Vlog Part 4 of our Dagger Claw crit build. Now, I did change the build a lot. You know, I went with a cast on crit build. Now, as you can see there, that is already Gravicious, and there are some weakness to this build, especially when it comes to elite monsters or bosses. As you all know, all bosses and elite mobs have really high health pool, and yeah, so it's really hard to dish out a lot of damage, especially if our build is not that much tanky. As you can see there, you know, Gravicious is really doing a lot of damage, which of course forced me to go back to town and refill my flask. Now, this happened a lot. I think I went back to town at around 2 or 3 more times, but then, you know, in the end I was still able to kill him, although the whole fight took more than I don't know, roughly around 2 minutes to 3 minutes. So it's a very long fight. I'm not exactly sure on how to further increase the damage of the spells that I'm using. With that said, of course, let's go to Cole. Now, when it came to Cole, he wasn't actually that hard, because there's actually a trick to him, especially if we are or if we are using a ranged character. Now, the trick to him is, of course, to use the area. As you can see there, and I am using the corners of the area. I mean, going up the stairs and then going around in circles while casting the spectral throw at the same time. And by the way, of course, with this build we are going to use the spectral throw to, of course, crit our spells. So nothing much to say here. You know, just don't get hit, and, you know, use the area to your advantage by going around corners and avoiding his melee splash attack, because I think he has this attack which is a little bit ranged. He attacks on a cone shaped thing, kind of like that, and then just as long as you keep your distance away from him, you will be fine. And of course, with that said, let's go into one of the longest fights that I've ever done here in PoE, Piety. Now, when it came to Piety was really hard, especially when it came to her ice elemental form, primarily because one of the reasons is our resistances are not capped, especially our cold and fire resistance. The reason that I wasn't able to cap it is because of our poor gear, and yeah, which I will be discussing later. Now, as you can see there, she is actually dishing a lot of damage to me, especially when it comes to her ice elemental form, and of course her fire elemental form. That is because our resistances in fire and ice are really low, but they're not negative, it's just that they are low. Now, you can just imagine if what happens if she crits in one of those hits. It's just, you know, it's just a really devastating situation. But then, you know, with some perseverance and some a little bit of patience, I was able to kill her. But of course, you know, the damage of the spells, again, it's just really low. I'm not entirely sure how I'll be able to, you know, make those damage higher. Probably get some ring which has additional spell damage, or probably get some daggers with aside from getting the additional crit chance, you know, get some additional spell damage, so that we could increase the damage of the spells that we are critting. Now, of course, with that said, let's get into our build proper. Okay, so we have made a lot of changes when it comes to our skill tree. Hold on. As you can see here, I removed a lot of melee nodes, you know, the unwavering stance. We removed that, and we regretted almost all of the skill points over here, and we have placed that somewhere else. Basically, I have put that on getting, of course, getting the Throat Seeker for the critical strike multiplier, and of course getting the Bloodthirst over here, and of course getting almost all of the critical strike chance nodes. And of course, I also spent the remaining nodes, the remaining points, I'm sorry, to get some more life nodes over here, and then of course to get some more life nodes over here. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that is of course almost all of the life nodes that we could take for our level. Our level is already at level 75. And the next thing that after getting the critical strike chance, the next succeeding level will be going to getting some more increased maximum life. These 3 life nodes over here. Now, when it comes to our gear, still using the Bloodseeker Claw, and of course using a dagger at the same time. Now I've chosen this dagger simply because of the 80% increased global critical strike chance, plus of course the an additional 29 increased critical strike chance. So that's 2 critical strike chance on one weapon, which is really good. Now for my helm, nothing much to say here. Life and resist. The amulet is also life and resist, and of course there's I had a very lucky roll to have a increased global critical strike chance. I am sorry, my voice is I don't know what's going on with my voice. Alright, for my amulet, I'm using this amulet. Of course, we need a critical strike chance amulet. It's sad that I didn't roll any life here, although we have some good fire and cold resistance there. For my next amulet, it's still we're using a critical strike chance amulet. Of course, it rolled very some good life over there. As you can see, that's plus 65 with a bad roll of only 1 resistances, which is only lightning. My god, I'm stuttering so much. I'm sorry, guys. Alright, for my armor, I chose this simply because it was the only 5 linked armor that I had. I mean, I had 2, but then the other one was a strength-based type, and it's really hard to roll a green and a blue sockets on that. So I chose this one. And ideally, what you'd really want is, you know, get some life and critical and what do you call this, and resistances. If you could roll that on an armor, that is fine, just as long as you could get some blue and some green, what do you call this, some green sockets. And then of course what is attached to our spectral throw, this is our main skill, although this is not the damage dealer. The damage dealer is of course the ice spear and the storm cold. Yeah, I chose the ice spear simply because of the fact that it passes through the mobs. With the Arctic breath and the fireball, what happens there is, you know, it will only hit the mobs in front, but then if there are mobs behind that mob, you know, it won't get hit. That's why I chose the ice spear. And of course I chose storm cold for the small AoE that it does, and of course for the shock stack. Then of course the other gems that are attached to our spectral throw is the cast on critical strike, and of course greater multiple projectiles. Now for my other gems, I have a CWDT which is attached to molten shell and enduring cry, and for my boots, you know, life and resist. What is in there is CWDT again, and chance to ignite and firestorm, you know, just to get the mobs ignited, and then, you know, at some point, you know, run away. That will be beneficial to us so that we don't get ganked up. And of course for my other CWDT, what is attached there is increased area of effect and elemental weakness. For the other one, it's reduced mana, clarity, and grace. Now for the gloves, I'm using this one. I chose to use this one simply because of the 50% increased global critical strike chance, which will be very beneficial to our build. Of course, add to that a 41% increased global critical strike multiplier. So this is a really good gloves for us to take. Sad that there is no life, but that is okay. Since we are a range type character, you know, ideally we really don't want to get hit. And for my belt, life and resist, of course. And for my flask, I've got these 2 flasks over here, life flask. The other one, you know, recharges 3 if you score a critical strike, and the other one removes bleeding. And of course, we need to have some armor there for you know, when you encounter those certain unique monsters that are really powerful. You really need to have some additional armor there. And then of course I chose to have what do you call this, a diamond flask, you know, just to dish out for 4 seconds, you know, dish out as much damage as we can. And of course a mana flask over here. And of course when it comes to our stats, we are doing really bad. Although our lightning resistance is already capped, we are doing not so well with our fire and cold resistance. As you can see there, you know, 57 and 55, really low. If you guys could improve that, you know, I suggest that you guys go ahead and do it. Now when it comes to our spectral throw, hold on. Yeah, our main hand is doing a 36.6 critical strike chance with a 391 critical strike multiplier. On our offhand, we are doing a 52.5% critical strike chance, which is really, really good, and a 391 critical strike damage multiplier. Now, ideally, hold on. What else am I supposed to discuss? Oh yeah. Our effective life is at 3,490, energy shield 31, which I don't really care, and our effective mana is at 82, with of course grace and clarity activated. Now I chose grace, just to have some armor, because like I said, there are some mobs, elite mobs who move really, really fast, and wherever you just can't outrun them, and the only thing that that is left for you to do is to just stand there and take his damage, and of course activate your granite flask, and activate your diamond flask, and dish out as much damage as you can. So I think I have discussed everything, and of course we have lightning warp for moving from one area to another, just so that we don't run around in circles. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right, so I guess I've discussed everything, and yeah. So for your armor, ideally get some life and get some resistance. You don't really, I don't really like this armor, but it's the only evasion-based armor that is 5 link that I have. So basically, get some life and then get some resistance. For the gloves, I don't really think that you have a choice here. If you're doing really well with your critical strike chance, then go for a life and resist gloves. But for me, I think I need the additional global critical strike chance, and of course the global critical strike multiplier. All right, enough talk. Let's get into some gameplay. Now we are on the merciless difficulty on the catacombs. And yeah, so yesterday while I was grinding, I made a very crucial mistake. When you're just playing and you're leveling, you don't really in my case, I don't really pay that much attention to the items that I picked. It so happened that I was able to pick a 6-linked staff, but I did not bother to look at it, because what are the odds of picking a 6-linked staff? So when I vendored my items, when you vendor items, generally sometimes you just don't look at them. You just sell as fast as possible, and then so what happened was I vendored that 6-linked 6-linked staff, and I got a divine orb, which is very stupid of me, because we all know how really hard it is to 6-link a piece of gear. So it was really, really bad. All right, so ideally it's really good when you have a good chunk of mobs. The critical strike chance procs a lot, as you can see there. But then what happens if you are only fighting a single mob? The crit chance doesn't proc that much, which is really, really bad. Alright, so it's a really good farming build, because for the fact that you are really killing groups of mobs really, really fast. Hold on, I want to get some good chunk here. Alright, I think this is good. As you can see, it's really, really powerful. It's really, really fun against a large group of mobs. But then when it comes to single mobs or single unique mobs, it's really, really weak. The damage that they're doing is not really that impressive. Alright, hey, hold on. There was an elite back here. Where is it? Alright, there we go. Let's kill this elite for our last chunk of mobs. Yeah, so I will be playing this straight. I think I'm going to, but I'm not going to leave the the Summoner Witch build. I'm just gonna put that on hold, and I'm just gonna level this up until I get probably up to level 78 or so, and probably do some videos on maps. And yeah, so that is basically it. It's a pretty good build. You guys could have a wide range of spells for your critical chance. You could probably get a combination of fireball and a Arctic Breath if you like, and what else? So there's a lot of combination that you guys could do with this build. So that's about it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I do apologize if I stuttered a lot for today, and yeah. So I will see you guys on the next part of my video, and have a good one. Critical hit chance activates, you will have a lot of critical strike multiplier. And then of course, after I get all of the critical strike multiplier points over here, I'm planning to get some more life points over here. But that's